Hands are up.
Mr. Allen. Easy to get a camp crowd quiet. We're really lucky to kind of have so much history at this camp, and we've converted the dining hall to kind of this historical display of everything. And I'm going to introduce our historian in just 1 minute, but we have a celebrity here at camp. So when talking about all of the changes that have happened at camp, it's very important to still recognize those campers that were here in the times that we're talking about. So right over here, I don't know if you know Paul Cuppinger, but he is our oldest camper here. He was at camp in 42, 43, and 44. With some adjustments, yeah. We wanted to formally recognize Paul in having our oldest alumni here at our 100th anniversary. We're very, very lucky. So we have this certificate for him. It says for Paul Cuppinger, the earliest Cory alumni at the 100th anniversary, proudly carrying the spirit of Camp Cory forward. So Paul. I have the absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker. So Bo Shoemaker, as many of you know, was a camper staff member, but his probably the role he's most famous for is our camp historian. Has committed countless hours in making sure that we are preserving the history and traditions of camp, and he is going to talk about that, and I'm sure great detail. And beyond that, many of you know this, many of you are lucky enough to be Bo's friend. He's a fantastic guy who we are very, very lucky to have here. So Bo Shoemaker, everybody. Woo!
Hold your applause, everyone. It's not a very good presentation. So, thank you. I didn't do really any of this history stuff here. That was done by several other people, and it is amazing. So, thank you to all those people. What I thought I would do for the presentation was touch on a couple of the things that aren't touched upon in any of these displays out here. So, I have a couple of learning outcomes. We're going to talk about Camp Iola, which is Camp Cory's predecessor. And who was Lawrence Cory? I think there's a display over there of Lawrence Cory. There's a little summary over there. Probably you've all seen just that one picture that's been duplicated many, many, many times around camp. But we'll just talk about a little bit more about, it's kind of morbid. I was about to say his life, but we're not really going to talk about his life, are we? So, summer camps started in the 1800s. Often the first one is considered to be in 1861. It was a gunnery camp. Obviously, it's not the most continuously or the longest continuously operational, but here it is. I called it Operation Let's Get Our Boys Out of the City. Essentially, people were moving from farms into cities. There was a big worry about, literally, the worry was that the boys would be overly feminized by living in the city. The other concern was that children would be morally bankrupt if they didn't have exposure to nature and nature's God, and God was kind of seen as being in nature, and the city was kind of seen as being not very spiritual and not a very moral place. So in the 1870s and 1880s, there were lots more camps throughout the country. I think in the 1890s, there started the decade with 100 summer camps and ended the decade with over 1,000. In 1892, the Rochester YMCA started the Rochester Camping Party, which had no name. That had a name, and that's the name. And this picture is actually right out here, and you can see it's, back then the world was more brown and faded. You can see, the first time I ever saw this, I was like, oh cool, they're having a dress-up day, and they have these neat little tents, and then I'm starting to think to myself, they're not having a dress-up day, it's 1892, and they're dressing as per usual. So, you can see it's a tent. Most of the records that we have say that it's 2 men, 14 boys, a couple of tents, a couple of rowboats, and presumably a picnic table. And they were just on Lake Ontario camping for a couple of weeks. And this is the very first Rochester YMCA junior camping party. Not called Camp Iola yet, but they were camping. This is from the next year, 1893. Note the cost, $7.50 got you a couple of weeks at camp.
Inflation,
Probably
though.
about the same now. Camp Iola. Everyone's got these little Cory C's, right? On their. Okay, the Camp Iola logo was essentially the same, but the C was for camp and the I was for Iola. Camp Iola was kind of evolved out of the Rochester YMCA camping party. There were young boys, old boys, and men. It was for adults too. They were for about 2 weeks each, and each of them could be in all different locations in a particular summer. So Camp Iola was not a location. If this were like a Disney movie, you'd say like camp was in your heart. There was no actual place at Camp Iola. So it was on Sodus Bay, it was on Canadice Lake, it was in the Thousand Islands, and then the place that it was probably at the most was Tichenor Point. I think that's how you pronounce it. On Canandaigua Lake. The point's actually still there. I Google Maps it about 20 minutes ago, and it still pops up. It's right across Canandaigua Lake. If you're familiar with Canandaigua Lake, Crystal Beach, it's like right across the lake from Crystal Beach. So Camp Iola was there for maybe over a decade. Here is a brochure from 1898, back when it was on Canisius Lake. This is obviously the junior camp, senior camp, men's camp. Anybody could go. Safety was a little different back then. The diving tower, such as it was. And they didn't care. This was not. They publicized this back. This was like not an issue back in the 1890s, 1900s. Look, a great diving tower. This is not a problem. This person's standing up.
Oh, God.
You can see the tents. The tents back here. So here is a brochure from when Iola was at Canandaigua Lake. You can see it was in Canandaigua, 1917. Here's the tents. All the boys standing in front of their tents. Here's someone with that Camp Iola logo on their shirt. This is the life. Is this a trough? Are they literally drinking out of a trough? I love the hats. Those kind of come back into style, right? Aaron, you were wearing one of those earlier today, right? Yeah. Good job. And then, 20, so they're dating back obviously to 1892 at this point. This is, look who this is addressed to. This is addressed to Colonel S.E. Mulford. He lived on 40 Phelps Avenue, City. That's all you had to do back then. Real boys.
Yeah.
Here's Colonel Mulford. This man, where's Jerry? This man was the Jerry Elliott of his day. He was the camp director. They actually called him the camp commandant. For like decades he was there. He was the guy at Camp Iola. I feel like every camp that's been around for over 100 years needs someone like this with this mustache and with, he was not really a colonel. Just the honorary rank of colonel. He did try to join the army, the Union Army in the Civil War. I think he was like 12 or 13. And once they found out this like child was with them, they sent him back home. The reason he's called Colonel Multhrop is he was really involved in veteran stuff and like organizing marches in Rochester. He was a school teacher also. Kind of did everything. He designed a type of desk called the Multhrop desk that they used in schools for like decades. There's a tree dedicated to him up near the Seneca Park Zoo. He was a big deal in Rochester. I actually learned a lot about him, not from camp history, but from an article written about him in the city of Rochester, like Rochester City Journal. Historical journal. So he was really into the army because of his honorary title. Every picture of him is basically with a bunch of kids doing these like military routines. So Camp Iola was on Tichenor Point, Canandaigua Lake. They rented it. They did not own the land. The Y just kind of rented this land. There was some other sciencey thing happening there that made the land available. All the newspaper articles I'm seeing in 1917, 1918, they're like, we're gonna buy this land. It's gonna be great. It's like, really? It's gonna happen. But it fell through. I don't know why. They never got the land. Someone got cold feet. I don't know. Too expensive. In 1920, Camp Iola moved to the Keuka site, which is here. I don't know if it was still called Iola at that point. Everything I see just says Cuca site on it. There's nothing that I've seen, and if anyone has seen it, please show it to me. There's nothing that I've seen that calls this location Iola. So it was moved here in 1920. I don't really know where the year 1921 came from. Maybe because it's like between 20 and 22. So is anyone here living in or from New York City? No one person. Okay. The city seal for New York City has a date on it that is also similarly made up. It's just kind of like, we could pick this date or this date or this date. Let's pick one kind of in the middle, and that's when we'll say New York City was founded. So I don't know if that's what 1922 or 21 came from. 22 is, from what I can see, that's the year we have the first culinary. Culinary is not a word. It's a made-up word that the Camp Cory people use to describe their yearbooks. But in 22, the Cuca camp was named Camp Lawrence Cory after H. Lawrence Cory. That gentleman, right there, right there. Who was he? Why was it named after him?
Oh boy.
Trigger warning? Is that what I'm supposed to say? This is about World War I, so there's some more stuff. And spoiler alert, someone dies. It is, obviously every death is a tragedy. War deaths are also a tragedy. I think in order to talk about it in a historical manner, and also we're pretty far removed from it, and I think a lot of good came out of it, i.e. us being here. So I'm going to kind of talk about it in a bit of a lighthearted manner. Sorry if that offends anyone. September, this is the way they dated things, the British way. 22 September 1918, there was an assault on a farm in like France-Belgium area in World War I. Court, maybe, is how you pronounce that. There was a city, you're about to see a map. For you World War I nerds, it was after the St. Mihiel offensive. There was a calm before a big Meuse-Argonne offensive, which is essentially the offensive that ended with the end of World War I. So this is like, it wasn't during a big offensive. The assault on Montplaisir Farm was kind of a mini thing that's not really written about anywhere other than stuff that concerns us here at Camp Cory because our guy took part in it. Here, there's the Montplaisir Farm.
Yes.
Right here. So here's the outcourt, what I told you about before. It's got a city. It looks actually quite beautiful. I kind of want to visit there. There is a war memorial there or near it that has Lawrence Cory on it. There's the farm. This red line describes the front lines at a certain point in World War I, the American front lines. Well, I'm not going to read this, don't worry. But the really, really cool thing about being a camp historian is that somehow these letters from 1918, 1919, 1920 survived in a cardboard box in what we used to call the Frodis closet. It was a closet in the store on top of a cooler. Was a cardboard box with stuff that was 100 years old. I'm so glad it just kind of sat there, presumably, for decades. But we have them. We have all these letters. Not to plug my book, but if you want to actually read them, many of them are scanned into a book called The History of Camp Cory, which you can buy here at the store. You can also buy it on Amazon. I'm carrying a pen with me the entire weekend, and I'll sign a copy. So most of the letters are from people in Lawrence Cory's unit, this 310th Infantry Machine Gun Company. He was a lieutenant, which it's like a platoon leader kind of. You lead like 20 to 40 guys. And they were in machine gun companies. There's a few platoons to this company. This is a letter from another guy in the American Expeditionary Forces. Most of the letters are to the Corys, so presumably I got them because the Corys kept them. I just want to go back. Censored. Okay, some of them are like actually censored. And then this was kind of tough for me to read, so you'll see some points in my book I'll put like question mark. I think that's what it says. Essentially, here's what we get from the letters, and here's what we get from the actual official history of the 79th Division, which is what Division Lawrence Cory was part of. So here's the outcourt, here's the line. This is the offensive that ended right before. So remember, 22nd is the night that he participated in the assault that ended in his death. So here's the line. We go back, this is the same map I showed you before. Here's the Montplaisir farm right there. Here's the line. So the Montplaisir farm belonged to the Germans It was like a machine gun nest. It was kind of an everything nest. It was a German stronghold. They couldn't be moved from it. And for those of you who know anything about World War I, the lines didn't move a ton. So the Americans are basically stuck here for weeks. This is seen as a German strong point that they need to knock out in order to progress. Spoiler, well, I'll get there in a minute. So here was the plan. Lawrence Cory's unit was going to move up to the farm at night. There was going to be troops on this side and this side. The machine gun platoons were going to form like covering fire on the sides. They'd form a little path like this. While the path was open, engineers were going to come in and destroy the farm. Like literally mine it with stuff and blow it up so the Germans couldn't use it anymore. The machine gun company had to hold their position for, I think it was 1 hour, like solid. Like from 0100 to 0200, you will hold your line. I might be getting those times wrong. They did that. The machine gun company succeeded in its mission 100%. Unfortunately, the engineers never showed up. But when that happens in the Army, especially in the year 1918, you don't, if you're the machine gun company, you don't just say, oh, they never showed, so we're not gonna, we'll fall back. No, their orders were not do this only if the engineers showed. Their orders were do this. So they held for an hour. Engineers never showed. At the end of the hour, they had orders to fall back. As they're falling back, they come over very, very heavy German gunfire. It's unclear exactly how this happened, but there was either Lawrence Cory was just hit, or what some people said in the letters was they're coming back and he and his machine gun company are providing covering fire. And while they're doing that, obviously to provide covering fire, you have to shoot at the enemy. They see a group of people in the dark. Again, it's like 2 in the morning, something like that. They don't know if the people they see are Americans or Germans. So Lawrence Cory, as the officer, he's kind of supposed to be the leader. He doesn't just send an underling out to confirm the identity of the Germans or Americans. He kind of goes out, and it was sort of a, from what I understand, who goes there type of situation. And who went there were Germans. They shot him. He was captured along with a few of his soldiers, and he seemingly wasn't really cared for medically speaking, and he perished within a few minutes. This is Montplaisir Farm in the winter after the war ended. It did kind of get demolished, but from what I can read, the Germans never left it during the war. The Americans never succeeded in actually driving the Germans from the farm until the war actually. Here's another. This is the official letter from the War Department to the Corys. It took years for them to officially confirm that Lawrence Cory, they were getting letters officially deceased, but this is the form letter they get telling them that their son was killed in action. Does anyone know where 1270 East Avenue is? You do?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, it's at the intersection of East Avenue, and no, it's Culver. So there's a big mansion on the southeast side of that intersection that is that mansion. So Harvey Cory was one of the 2 heads of the Alling and Cory Paper Company. If you go to Frontier Field, there's a plaque, that's where their factory used to be. Big deal. Hence how he was able to kind of help get all this set up. So after Lawrence Cory perished, here's 1920. As I said, we're going to kind of combine both learning outcomes at this point. We're talking about Iola and Lawrence Cory. So they're at the Keuka site. It's not called anything really. Rochester Y Camp for Boys. No name. This bridge. Does anyone think they know where this bridge is? Isn't? Oh. Which one? You think it's that one? I tend to think it's the other one.
Yeah,
I don't know, because that's the dining hall, right? So I'm thinking this is the one kind of behind that's 10 maybe. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to be sure. You see a lot of old photos and sometimes you think you see a building in the background that may or may not be. So this is 21. It's still apparently not called Cory, not called Iola. Here's the camp attendance. I mean, I don't need to read this out for you, but this is from the end of year banquet. This is my writing, and I think I'm right, but I'm really not sure. Some parts in the book are educated guesses. Continuity, Philo to Cory. Who's this guy? And where is that window? Right there. So this is the old dining hall porch, which is now what I used to call the migrant seating section. I'm sorry if this laser's didn't keep So this is nature study with Colonel Moulthrop. Colonel Moulthrop continued on at Camp Cory after it became the camp at Keuka, and I believe after it was even named Camp Cory. I love these beanie hats that had these. More continuity between Iola and Cory. This guy here with the arrow is Mike Migren, who my uncle's name. He was a camper at Iola. He became a junior leader here in 25, which as best as I can tell means he started the summer as a camper, and then either he was good enough or they were short-staffed enough and they needed to kind of help out. So junior leaders would start the summer in one cabin as a camper, they would end the summer in a different cabin as a junior leader. He was also auxiliary bugler, when the real bugler had a cough or something. 1922, this guy here, left front row, Schuyler Wells. Oh, wow. Right there. After whom Wellsville is his name. Similar story with him. He was a junior leader in 1922. Both Wells. Okay, so Mike Migren went on to become a staff member. He was like a utility counselor. He left. He came back. He was kind of a celebrity counselor. Celebrity counselors seemingly still exist today. They want to be here forever. Wells seemingly was the same way. Migren was also on the board. The Camp Cory Board of Management. And as we get into 1922, we're now talking about what is officially Camp Cory. As far as I can tell, July 4th, 1922 was the official dedication, the official actual naming of the Keuka site as Camp Cory. A Camp Cory flag went up the flagpole for the first time on July 4th, 1922. The first culminary was in 1922. All of the culminaries, I believe, have been scanned in and are at www.cory.camp for free. They're really, really, really cool. Back in the day, every single camper and counselor got a paragraph written about them. So you can really, and a lot of pictures too, a lot of really cool pictures. So some of them are here. I also greatly encourage you to go to cory.camp and read through the culminaries. So, I don't know if any of you saw the subtitle at the beginning. I think I called it 100 Years Historical Fact or Marketing Decision. It is 100 years, really. Actually, 2022 is, well, anyway. The point of this is, it doesn't really matter what the year was. 1892 is when the first camping Rochester Y camp started. It's been continuous since then. 1920, they came to the Keuka site. By the way, the deeds for the Keuka site are available at the Yates County Clerk's Office, and I've looked at them, and they're written in this really cool calligraphy. And it originally camp only went to the creek. This is not really part of the PowerPoint. I'm going to nerd out for a little bit. The camp historian. Camp went to the creek, and the way the deed is worded, it was like, the land goes to the creek that goes down, and then the creek goes through a tree, like a giant oak tree, and that's where the property line is. 1921, which is what a lot of the documentation says is kind of the founding of Camp Cory. 1922, and 21 may very well have been when it was officially, this is our place now. Maybe that's when the deeds were finalized. This building was dedicated in 23, it looks like. The first couple of buildings was this building, the store, which was at that point called the Isabel Cook Manual Training Building, where you see pictures and it's these boys all making wallets, and it looks kind of like forced labor, but I think they enjoyed it. So my theory, I guess, if I have to reach a conclusion, is that it's all of them. All the years. I'm not going to take any questions in front of all of you because it's a beautiful day and there's stuff to do, and I don't want to keep you from activities, but I'll stick around. I'll be here all weekend if people want books to be signed. I'll stick around if anyone wants to chat or if anyone has a question right now.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to cut you off there because we have a surprise for you.
I'm surprised.
So, like I said, Bo's been doing this for a very long time. And so we actually wanted to issue a special award to Bo. So the inscription reads, for his commitment to preserving the history and traditions of YMCA Camp Cory, this award for recognition of special service is presented to Robert Bo Shoemaker for exceptional dedication to the campers of the past and those yet to come. So.
Great job, Bo.
Thanks, Bo.